What's up troops, it's me TheTacticalBrit and we're back again today with Tales from the Battlefield. And today we're going to be looking at an incident in World War I, which is arguably one of the most fascinating incidents in terms of conventional weaponry up until this point. Today we're going to learn about the explosion in France that was heard from Dublin and London across the British Channel, and more specifically the Battle of Messines in France, which is arguably one of the most successful operations on the Western Front during World War I. The Battle of Messines was a well thought through tactical operation which shifted the deadlock which had taken place in the Western Front between the Allies and the Germans. At this point in time there was practically no movement on the Western Front and the war practically was going nowhere. It was launched on the 7th of June 1917 and involved the detonation of 19 underground mines underneath German mines. The target of the offensive was Messines Ridge, a natural stronghold southeast of Ypres and a small German salient since 1914, and the attack was also the beginning to the much larger Third Battle of Ypres. The idea behind this operation was to use an explosion to deteriorate the German forces and make their defences a bit more shaken and unaware of what was going on, masking an incoming infantry attack. And in preparing for the Messines battle, General Herbert Plummer's Second Army had authorised the laying of 22 mines underneath German lines all along the ridge, and his plan was to detonate all of them at exactly 3:10 in the morning on the 7th of June 1917. This was to be followed by a large wave of infantry attacks to secure the ridge from the presumably dead or dazed German defenders, and the infantry was heavily supported by artillery bombardments, tanks and even uses of gas. And these mines actually started being laid 18 months before the 0 hour when they were supposed to be detonated. At this exact point in time, and when they began laying the mines, the Germans had actually launched a counter-mining operation, and on the 24th of August 1916, they had destroyed one mine on a Douve farm, and they found 2 more mines later that year. They were also exploded beyond the attack area, and the seemingly random pattern of where these mines had been placed led the Germans to believe that there was no coordinated attack. Now, in the face of active German countermining, 8,000 metres of tunnel were constructed under German lines, and occasionally the tunnelers would even encounter German counterparts and engaged in hand-to-hand combat in order to win the tunnel and make sure that it was secure. 18 days before the detonation, heavy preliminary artillery bombardment of German lines begun on the 21st of May. It involved over 2,000 guns and over 300 heavy mortars and ceased at 2:50 in the morning on the 7th of June. Now, the Germans, during the cease, would actually be sensing an imminent attack from the British and the Allied troops, and as a result, they all rushed to their defensive positions, got their machine guns ready, and were anticipating infantry to come in. They also sent up flares, bearing in mind that this was done at 3 in the morning, and they were ready and prepared for the British to rush the ridge on foot. Silence prevailed for the following 20 minutes until at 3:10 an order was given across the line to detonate the mines, which totaled over 600 tons of explosives, and 21 mines were laid, but only 19 actually were detonated correctly. The Messines Ridge blast at Ypres was heard all the way in Dublin, and 10,000 Germans died instantly. The British Prime Minister actually even heard this blast in London and telegraphed his generals at Ypres for an update before they managed to send word of the detonation. The combined sound and simultaneous mine explosions comprised the largest ever man-made explosion up until this point in World War I. So essentially this was the biggest bomb before the next bomb at Hiroshima, which followed in World War II. And that's an incredible achievement for conventional weaponry, and this completely changed the tide of the deadlock on the Western Front for the Allies, allowing them to commence the Third Battle of Ypres and eventually shift the Western Front into their favour and make progressions alongside the Eastern Front to again force Germany into a surrender. The Messines battle greatly boosted morale amongst the Allies and signified the first time on the Western Front that defensive casualties exceeded attacking losses, at 25,000 losses to the Germans to 17,000 losses for the Allies. So this was the first real successful operation in which the Germans had actually felt the blow more than the Allies. Of the 2 mines which remained undetonated on the 7th of June, bearing in mind 19 of the 21 actually exploded, the details of their exact location were mislaid by the British following the war, and this led to discomfort of the local townspeople. One of the mines was actually detonated in a thunderstorm on the 17th of June 1955, and the only casualty was a dead cow, which was already deceased prior to the explosion. The second mine remains undetected, although in recent years its location is believed to have been pinpointed, but no one has yet been able to make a recovery, or really has been bothered to, as it's in a very remote location, according to those who had mapped the potential area of its landing. So there we have it, one of the biggest conventional explosions in World War I history, and although Messines Ridge was actually a very limited victory, its considerable effect on the Western Front that forced the Germans into retreat to the east was a sacrifice that actually marked the beginning of a continual loss of territory in the Western Front for the Germans, and the eventual victory for the Allies, who had made their way down into the Ypres region and set up shop. Really, if you think about it, it's incredible to think that an explosion which happened in France was heard all the way in London and felt all the way in Dublin. And although 600 tons sounds like a lot of explosive, it's really hard to imagine the kind of devastation that can unleash until you actually hear it or feel it or even see it for yourself. And just to give you a rough idea of the scale of this explosion, not only did it destroy an entire ridgeside in Messines, it also actually left craters that eventually became lakes and ponds all across the region, which are now photographed today, and you can even see some of the remnants of this battle still now in France, and there are some relics there and of course some memorials as well to the soldiers that took part. So if you ever find yourself in the region in France, you can actually go and take a look at where this took place. So guys, that's it from me today. I hope you guys are enjoying this series as much as I am. If you have any interesting statistics or facts, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. And of course, do leave a like, do leave a comment as well if you enjoyed this video and if you are enjoying this series. And one thing I'd like to request from some of you is that if you have any old World War I memorabilia, or perhaps you have some medals or anything that is a relic of World War I, perhaps from a relative or just something you've happened to acquire, if you could send a picture of it into me through either social media or the email which is available on my YouTube account, I would love to feature them in any of my upcoming videos just to show the kind of things that have actually been in this war. And I think it's very easy to detach yourself and only see these things as a matter of statistics and only look at this war as just a statistical fact of these many people died and this happened, when in actuality millions of individual people took part and millions of them will have their own stories as well, some of which I believe would like to be remembered in the form of these items. So if you do happen to stumble across any World War I items or objects or uniforms, whatever you happen to have lying around, perhaps as a family memory, if you could take a picture of that and maybe even attach a story, that would be fantastic, and I'd really love to feature it here on the channel. So guys, it's been me, the Tactical Brit. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you again soon in another video.